So I've talked about Gilmore Girls a lot on this channel, but I really wanted to dedicate a whole video to why I love this series so much. If you don't know anything about Gilmore Girls, it's basically a television show about a mom and a daughter who are best friends and only 16 years apart. They live in a small town in New England, full of quirky characters like the car mechanic named Gypsy, the do-every-job-ever weirdo Kirk, the ballet teacher who's had like 5 husbands, the uber-strict Korean mom who runs the antique shop, and the grouchy but lovable diner owner. I first became vaguely acquainted with Gilmore Girls around age 12 or so, but I never really watched every single episode, especially in high school during the last seasons when I was just really busy with homework. But then during college I started watching every episode in order through Netflix. But for whatever reason, season 4 wasn't available, so I ended up having to buy it. And that's when I started buying all the seasons, or receiving them as gifts. And since then, I've watched the whole show through about 2 or 3 times. So, on to the show. Lorelai and her daughter Rory eat tons of food and drink lots of coffee, watch tons of movies, and read tons of books. Rory is really smart and in the first episode gets accepted into a private high school. But Lorelai, who's a single mom, can't afford to pay for it, so she goes to Rory's uber-rich grandparents to help. Their relationship with their grandparents is really strained, and so the whole show is just this huge clash between Lorelai's homegrown way of doing things and the Gilmores' super proper, we're better than you way of doing things. The show has the usual TV drama like relationships and breakups. I mean, it's based on what happens after a teen pregnancy, but on the whole, it's pretty clean. There's no drugs or alcoholics, there's no violence, racy scenes, or heavy cussing, etc. It's really not a sitcom at all, though. The writing is really good. There are so many pop culture references, ones that most people wouldn't even recognize because they're all like from the 90s or even further back. The characters talk really fast and are really witty, and they don't reuse old jokes over and over. The main characters have really big life goals and work hard to get them, and they have pretty good morals, but of course aren't perfect, but are all the more awesome because of that. The show is pretty religion and politics neutral, although it's pretty obvious that the Gilmore Girls are feminists and liberals, though definitely not in a shove-it-in-your-face kind of way. They have bodies and races of all types in the show, even though it is pretty much mostly stereotypically attractive white people. There are obese people and Asians and Latinos and French or Canadian people. It's just kind of unclear where Michelle is from. And for the most part, those characters are not about the fact that they are minority characters. And the guy who appears shirtless more than anyone on the show looks really awkward shirtless. So there's a wide variety of people and personalities, and it's just really crazy and so great. It's very original how it's written, and the story of the town and what goes on in the town, there's always some crazy marathon or knit-a-thon going on, or some fun festival. Like in one episode where the whole town becomes one giant hay bale maze. One of my favorite episodes is the 24-hour dance marathon. It's respectable, hilarious, incredibly intelligent, at least compared to the majority of American television today. The main characters are people that you can really relate to and look up to. Rory Gilmore is definitely one of the characters that I most look up to because she's so smart and values reading and intelligence, but also humor and fun and good food, and she cares for other people. She's nowhere near perfect. She goes through a major crisis or two and struggles with who she wants to be and where she fits in. She doesn't always get along with her mother, but is overall just such a lovely person and a thoroughly enjoyable character. And the same goes for her mother Lorelai. She is such a great mother and doesn't always get it right. She has personal goals outside of being a mother and outside of dating men. That's one really great thing about the show, is that the relationships are not the most important part of it. There's so much else going on. But the guys are fun to talk about as well. You're probably wondering who my picks are. Some of you already know my favorite guys, and most of you probably agree with me, but I know that there are some who don't, which is fine. For Lorelai, obviously the right choice is Luke. I adore Luke. I want a Luke. Max and Christopher definitely have their good moments. I really like the actor that played Max. I first saw him in The 10th Kingdom as a wolf. The guy that I liked least for Lorelai was Digger, aka Jason, but I call him Digger because I don't like him. He just seemed conceited or something. I don't know. Luke is where it's at, and that's all I need to say about that. And for Rory, well, that's where most of the disagreement comes in. The first guy Rory dates is Dean. Dean is tall and athletic, and he does okay in school. He's also very possessive and kind of needy, like he calls Rory 10 times a day. He gets jealous really easily and doubts his relationship with Rory even when it's unjustified. The second guy she dates is Jess. Jess is Luke's nephew. He's kind of a bad boy, wears a leather jacket, and reads a lot of Kerouac. He doesn't care too much about school, but he's still really smart. He just doesn't really apply himself. His parents are long-term divorced, and he doesn't know his dad and doesn't really know how to deal with a serious relationship. And then the third guy is Logan. He's rich and blonde, and he goes to Yale. He's a very fun guy, and he really loosens up Rory, and he really plays a big part in helping her to get the career that she wants. Obviously he's smart since he goes to an Ivy League school with Rory, and he does have his own ideas of life separate from his dad's ideas. He's kind of irresponsible and a ladies' man, and he's used to getting what he wants. There also aren't that many conversations between him and Rory about music and books, so I don't know how much they have in common there. So obviously none of them are perfect, but one thing they have in common is how much they love Rory and how amazing they know she is. And at their best, I love each of them. But in the end, for me, it's always Jess. He and Rory are just so similar. Both are awkward in public and unexperienced in relationships, and both come from broken households. I could talk for a long time about why Jess and Rory are perfect for each other. In fact, I will in a separate video. I'll link it down below, and it'll be much more thorough and analytical and spoilery, so if you haven't seen the show and want to, you might not want to watch it. I also want to talk about Richard and Emily Gilmore, Rory's grandparents. Sometimes I just feel like slapping some sense into them because they are awful parents to Lorelai. But then there are times when I want to give them the highest of fives because they are amazing grandparents to Rory. They would do anything for her, and you have to admire them for that. And both of them are played by such amazing actors. I mean, the whole cast is excellent, down to every minor character. Another thing that needs addressing is the last season. Most fans know that the last season was directed and produced by a different set of people, because the original writers and directors weren't able to work on the season for monetary reasons, I think. I'm not really sure. And so a lot of fans don't like the last season because it is just a bit different. But at the time when I was doing my first watch through of the whole season, I didn't really know that it had a different set. And so I wasn't really aware of the differences, and so I don't hate the last season. It's definitely not one of my favorites, and I think it would have been better if Amy and Dan Palladino had been working on it. But there are some plot lines in that season that I personally really relate to. And lastly, before I go, I just want to talk a little bit about the books in the show. There are a lot of them. And some people have already compiled lists of books from the show, or books that Rory has read or would read, but when I looked through them, I couldn't really find any that completely satisfied my needs. Some of them weren't completed or organized, didn't have a reference to which episode it could be found in, so I watched the whole series through and made notes of all the books and episodes and wrote down the context and made lists on Goodreads. But of course there were some books that I couldn't recognize because they were too blurry, or I just couldn't recognize the cover. So I've made a video compiling all of my screenshots, and I'm really hoping that you can help me figure out some of them, whether or not you've seen the show. So I'll leave a link to that down below as well. So I think that's it. I know it was a long video, and I hope I didn't forget anything. If there's anything else that you want to discuss, just let me know in the comments. And check out all the links down below, there are a lot of them. And thanks for watching this video. Bye!